A North Georgia man allegedly shoots his own mother in the back and then turns the weapon on sheriff's deputies. How this hours-long standoff finally came to an end.
Police are on the hunt for this man who they say attacked 2 women in DeKalb County, and they say it isn't his first time.
The defendant in a racially charged murder trial makes the victim's family cry in court.
It's a story you've been talking about online ever since we posted it. A black doctor blocked from getting into her home, racially profiled. Tonight, we find out where the law stands on her case.
And tonight's Dateline took us back on the wild ride that was the Tex McIver murder trial. Well, we now have the full picture of who the McIvers were in public and in private. But more importantly, jurors took us inside the deliberation room and how their opinions changed as that case unfolded.
We all thought he was guilty of something. We had a difficult time agreeing on what that was.
It was a very intense, emotional process.
Yeah,
there
was some crying on some days.
Well, stick around, folks. We're going to hear more from those jurors. Plus, I'm going to tell you why this might not be the last we hear of Tex McIver in court. That's coming up in about 6 minutes. But first, some late-breaking news tonight. We add another incident to Georgia's growing number of officer-involved shootings, bringing us to 48 so far this year. The latest case, a man accused of shooting his own mother in the back. He gets into a standoff with police and sheriff's deputies. It all happened in Jackson County, just outside of Brazelton. Ryan Kruger is live where police say the entire street is now a crime scene.
Yeah, Vinny, bullets were flying throughout this street here in rural Jackson County. We do know that there were 2 patrol cars that were hit with bullets, along with a UPS truck that was here on a delivery and got hit by one of those stray bullets. The good news is no one else was hurt. Late Friday night, wreckers removed 2 Jackson County Sheriff's deputies' patrol cars that had been hit during a shootout. While the cars may have bullet holes, the deputies are fine.
I'm just thankful my deputies are okay and they're not hit, hurt, dead. I'm just thankful.
Those are the thoughts of Jackson County Sheriff Janice Mangum at the end of a long day. It started around 4 when a woman called 911 saying her own son shot her in the back at their home on Charlie Cooper Road outside of Brazelton. She was able to hide underneath a nearby car, and when deputies arrived,
the suspects started firing on them, hitting the vehicles, but the deputies were not shot. They're okay. So one deputy returned fire. The suspect was hit.
The suspect then barricaded himself inside the home for several hours, wounded the entire time. He gave himself up when the SWAT team entered the home. I'm told he lives at that house with his mother and his young child, but thankfully that child was not in the house during any of the chaos. It's still not clear tonight why he allegedly shot his mother in the first place. So no known motive tonight. We also do not know the identity of the suspect in this case. So 2 things for us to keep an eye on over the weekend. We do know that the suspect and his mother were told tonight, both of them at the same hospital, Northeast Georgia Medical Center in Gainesville. I'm told both of them tonight are in stable condition. Vinny?
All right. Thank you, Ryan. Hey, we're starting the weekend off with some strong storms. Chris is tracking the latest band heading our way. We had one that came through. What's the next one going to do?
Yeah, we're in a break in the action right now. There's that storminess that came through a little bit earlier. It's causing severe weather toward Augusta right now. We're in a break in Atlanta, but let me show you this next wave that's moving in. We've been watching these showers and storms, keeping a really close eye on these. Some of these up in Walker County produce some rotation. I've shared a couple of videos on my Facebook page of some of that rotation there. Really interesting to see there. We've also been watching one that was a severe thunderstorm warning a little bit earlier for Floyd County and Bartow County. That was canceled after 10 o'clock, but we still have some heavy rain coming through Rome right now. We're watching these closely because these do have the potential to develop a little bit of rotation, not strong enough for a tornado warning, but we expect this to weaken a little bit more as this gets closer to us. Let's take a look now outside. This is our tower cam that we have in Rome right now, and where we just showed you on radar that rain that's coming down, there you can see all of the raindrops on the lens and that heavy rain coming down in Rome at this hour, going through the rest of the nighttime hours. Watch what happens with this in northwest Georgia. Coming closer to Atlanta, it weakens. So we don't expect to see severe weather here tonight as our atmosphere is worked over from those storms that we had earlier. Stay with us. We'll talk about additional storms redeveloping tomorrow. More on that in a bit.
All right. Thank you, Chris. And Natisha Lance joins us now with our speed feed. What do you got for us tonight, Natisha?
Well, Vinny, we start with a fugitive who allegedly shot and killed a great-grandmother in Monroe, who is now finally behind bars tonight. 30-year-old Sergio Moon had been on the run for nearly 2 weeks until his arrest today. Moon allegedly shot 68-year-old Linda Flint and left her bleeding out on the floor of her home. Flint is the great-grandmother of the suspect's child, and funeral services for Linda Flint will be held tomorrow in Monroe. Investigators are working to shut down the supplier of a meth operation running out of a Wendy's drive-thru in Canton. Yeah, a tip led to a month-long undercover sting operation resulting in the arrest of 4 Wendy's employees. The Wendy's franchise owner, Hoover Foods Atlanta, has fired the employees and is cooperating with the investigation. We are getting new details tonight about a self-driving Uber crash that killed a woman in Arizona. Police say the woman who was supposed to be monitoring the car was distracted by streaming videos, 3 hours worth of those videos. Investigators say Rafaela Vasquez was watching The Voice instead of watching the road at the time a pedestrian was hit, and now she is facing criminal charges. We also have new information in the death of celebrity chef and food explorer Anthony Bourdain. French investigators say his toxicology report shows no alcohol or narcotics was in his system when he died. However, quote, a non-narcotic medicine and a therapeutic dose was present. Bourdain was found dead of a suicide earlier this month. But on a sweeter note, Benny, today Bourdain's mom told the New York Times that she's going to honor her son, who had a lot of ink, by getting her first and only tattoo with his name on her wrist.
All right, thank you so much, Natisha.
You bet.
Crying, there was yelling, there was temper tantrums, people storming out. There was quite a bit of emotion, and not something that that was very pleasant experience. The deliberation part of it.
Unbelievable. Loud arguments, emotional outbursts, tears, all in a day's work for the jurors in the Tex McIver murder trial. But can you blame them? The trial took twists and turns that no one could have been prepared for. Tonight on Dateline, the jurors talked about a crucial decision made by the defense to not let Tex McIver take the witness stand.
Did you want him to testify?
I did. Because I really wanted to find him not guilty. I did. I really did.
I think it would have helped me. But it's hard to say without knowing what he would have said or how he could have testified against all the things we had already heard.
Well, now that we know the verdict guilty, you might think that the defense made a mistake not allowing him to testify, but if he had the chance to tell his story in his own words, he may have been able to convince the jury he's innocent, maybe. But let me remind you of what we heard when he did speak.
I have spent 263 nights in a jail cell by myself, but not alone. She has joined me there. It's a presence, it's hard to describe, but she has left her earth suit.
We heard about earth suits and Chick-fil-A and racehorses, all in this bizarre monologue by Tex McIver during the sentencing. And that right there could be why maybe the defense advised him not to testify. And while Tex's status as a convicted murderer is a fact now, the story not necessarily over. The jurors in tonight's Dateline talked about the crucial piece of evidence that could give the defense grounds for an appeal.
We got to hold the gun. We got to fire it in the jury chamber, obviously without any bullets inside, and feel the force, cocked, not cocked. We all felt it and all agreed that you couldn't accidentally do that.
Now, one of the big issues for Tex McIver on appeal will be juror conduct, specifically what they were doing with the gun, as you heard, and when they were in the SUV with the gun. Jurors are not supposed to do their own independent investigations or experiments. They're supposed to rely solely upon the evidence presented in court and, of course, their own life experience and common sense. So if a court finds that the jury was conducting its own experiments, that could impact this verdict. Although, I got to remind you, criminal appeals are always a long shot. We'll just have to wait and see if Tex McIver gets another day in court. Oh, late feed back in 60 seconds with new details about a dangerous predator who police say is hunting Metro victims and attacking them in their own homes. And an update on one of the most watched stories on 11 Alive all week, a woman blocked from entering her gated community because of the color of her skin. See you in 60.